Very few teams have a immunity to it anymore. I guess Billy does, but do you really want to use Scoville in that situation where presumably you're also facing down a Charizard?
Well, going to be Sneasler and Espathra leading for Billy, and Arsal will have the Incineroar and the Sinistcha leading for his own sake. And so now this Espathra is out here showing that Billy is just going to go for the boosting version of this team.
Yeah, observant viewers probably noticing there something strange with the Sneasler where the Intimidate actually sticks, not a white herb on the Sneasler. It is instead Focus Sash unburdened. So something we don't see quite as frequently. So going to keep its stat drops, but potentially be able to survive a big attack later in the match. Though right here is going to get chipped down anyway, so maybe not a lot. It's such a great item, and Sneasler going to flee right away.
Yeah, Sneasler is fleeing for the Archaludon, and this is Espathra now out on the field going for a Lumina Crash, targeting down the Sinistcha. You can see Arsal trying to threaten the Espathra from passing on too many speed boosts here by also threatening the Trick Room, but there's the parting shot into Espathra to lower its special attack, so if it does get to pass some boosts, it's also passing some debuffs.
Yeah. Kind of like that, yeah. You want to pass your stat changes away? Hey, oh, here's all of them.
Yeah, you can pass all of the stat changes, including your limited special attack. And now the Trick Room is set up by Sinistcha here. But good call from Billy to just bring in the Archaludon without passing any boost to it, seeing the Sinistcha on the field.
Yeah, and perhaps hoping there you get like some of those weaker attacks instead for a stamina boost, but still a nice change. And hey, Espathra now basically has one level of reduced speed as well because it's going the wrong way. So maybe making this decision a little bit simpler for him.
Incineroar being switched in for that Pokemon here on Arsal's side. So Sinistcha is out, Espathra is out as well. Not through Baton Pass, but just a hard switch into Politoed. It's going to set the rain that is going to activate the power of Archaludon's ability to fire off Electro Shots and start getting special attack boosts of its own. Archaludon does not need Espathra's help to start giving itself more and more power. That Electro Shot, of course, will raise the special attack of the Archaludon, but into the protect of the non-Mega Evolved Floette just yet.
Yeah, no need to yet. Still protecting, although I guess, it's possible if a Charizard is in the back, though highly unlikely in this situation, but keeping the threat alive as long as...
You at least bluff it.
Yeah, why not, right? I mean, don't really need to Mega Evolve there anyway. Floette coming in is... Politoed coming in is impactful here. You'd assume there'd be a fake out in the Archaludon slot, and that would allow the Politoed to dish out some damage to Incineroar, so making the situation a little bit more complicated for that side of the field, where it's going to be a real cost if there's a fake out.
Well, Floette now does Mega Evolve this turn, no longer going for the bluff. Fake out into the Archaludon. Like you mentioned, it will prevent that Pokemon from going on the offensive, especially with that additional boost to its special attack. Weather Ball comes out from Politoed, just trying to target down the Floette, deal as much damage as possible. And with the Mystic Water, with the rain, deals so much damage to that Floette. I don't know that this Calm Mind's enough to protect it.
Yeah, I mean, especially, that Archaludon's already got a boosted level of special attack. It's got a same type of attack bonus, boosted Flash Cannon. Not looking so great there, and Politoed's still threatening the other slot with a powerful Weather Ball. So important to get an attack down if you have a bunch of special attackers like that before the Floette gets the first Calm Mind up and get more damage, enough that you have to play a little more defensively. Not what Arsal's hoping for there, but still some nice positioning by him after having the speed disadvantage to start out the game. Although kind of has it again where his own Trick Room kind of working against him here.
Kind of dangling that Incineroar in front of the Politoed to try to give Floette a free Calm Mind. Does not, like you mentioned, Billy is very smart about making sure to take as much damage as possible. Also recognizes that Floette is under threat, going for another call out here. Ice Beam into the Incineroar that is now a Sinistcha, and a double up. The Dragon Pulse now connecting onto Sinistcha, and Billy has gotten every single turn right so far.
Yeah, very smart is right. Excellent play there, anticipating the protect, picks up an easy knockout, avoids the threat of Trick Room being reversed, since it's currently helping him out.
Loves this
getting
Trick
a great
Room.
knockout. And now Incineroar's going to come in here, and maybe at this point Floette is healthy enough that it would be able to survive a Weather Ball and like Calm Mind again or something, but a lot of threat being put down here, and just not getting anything done of his Trick Room. I already lost a Pokemon. Still 2 more turns of rain, so Politoed may want to switch out and reset stats anyway, but also have the issue where the Trick Room is going to expire relatively soon. There still are those 2 quicker Pokemon in the back for Billy that are going to have to be dealt with once this Trick Room expires. Speed control has been just in Billy's favor almost this entire game, even though he hasn't used any speed control moves.
Absolutely. It has all been Arsal trying to sort of react to what he expects from Billy, and Billy just sort of being one step ahead here. Incineroar will go ahead and continue to fake out the Archaludon, noticing that that is going to be the biggest damage threat to the Floette on the field. This time around, Billy does go up to take out the Incineroar with that weather ball. Huge KO coming out there from the Politoed. All of the multipliers stacking up. This is a Pokemon we are used to seeing just be very bulky and tank a bunch of hits, but it also can dish out the damage when it wants to.
Well, speaking of dishing out the damage.
Not quite as much as Floette can, but Politoed's been picking up KOs. Floette just dealt some damage.
Yeah, true. It's been important knockouts too, where now down to 2 Pokemon on the opposing side of the field, so going to simplify things a little bit. Again, there's that quicker Sneasler in the back, and the Espathra and Venusaur winds up being the final Pokemon here. I might have expected that only to be used paired with Charizard, but no, Venusaur's going to come out in this matchup, and that is an interesting Pokemon here, where it'll be a little bit difficult for the Sneasler to deal with it, though the Espathra is going to have a pretty easy time. So these 2 Pokemon on the field now kind of just need to go down in an efficient way for Billy not to get one of his remaining Pokemon weakened while the other one is waiting to enter battle.
Absolutely, and Archaludon's just going to protect this turn, so Politoed goes down. So Politoed is the Pokemon that will be sacrificed here from Billy, as this Floette with the 1 Calm Mind is ready to start picking up KOs. However, Sneasler is now able to switch in for free here and immediately threaten the Floette, or the Espathra can come in here and start chaining more buffs, potentially switching out that Archaludon to pass them back on to that Pokemon as well.
So Sneasler is the choice here, but yeah, there are a lot of great options. And now immediately a bunch of threat on both of these Pokemon were to make a difficult read if you're on Arsal's side of the field. And Direct Claw likely able to pick up a knockout and Floor in this position, so it's very threatened, difficult for it to move. But a Fake Out and then an attack on the Venusaur slot would be very devastating if that Protect does occur. The Archaludon did boost its special attack while Rain was still up, so Venusaur opting for the Protect here, anticipating that play.
Yep, Venusaur actually is the Pokemon to protect, like you mentioned, calling out the Fake Out from Sneasler. Great call there from Arsal. That means that Floette gets to fire off a Dazzling Gleam and bring Sneasler all the way down to its Focus Sash. And now there are no additional Pokemon for this Espathra to pass any buffs to. And the only way here, this Sneasler needs to land a Dire Claw on that Floette.
Yeah, things have gotten interesting all of a sudden where it seemed like a big advantage. And there still is that fully healthy Espathra, but Venusaur is going to be a problem to deal with, right? If it's able to hit a Sleep Powder or pick up a knockout on that Sneasler in a way that transitions things effectively for Floette, things are a little bit scary. All of a sudden, the Venusaur does have that Focus Sash item, so it will need to be attacked by both of these Pokemon in order to be knocked out. And hey, you can't tap Venusaur twice and hit Floette in the same turn. So gonna have to hit a read here. Billy was very close. He had a huge lead, but all of a sudden he still needs to make one more read to close this one out.
Yeah, still needs to get this last turn right here. Floette protects from Arsal. Billy looks very happy about that. There's the Protect. The Dire Claw actually connects onto Venusaur. Going to be the 1 hit into Venusaur and the Paralysis. Most likely not going to matter at all as this Lumina Crash cleans up the Venusaur. And that is big damage, a big KO. And Billy has played this first game so perfectly. That 1 Floette, even with those boosts, just doesn't have it against 2 of these Pokemon here. And there's the forfeit from Arsal.
Yeah, great being in the game though, where for a while there was like, oh man, Billy's really running away with this one. But it was actually very close, where I felt like there's like 3 or 4 turns where the players were kind of making a read against one another. Arsal really only got it once, and despite only getting the 1 read, he's actually very close to winning this game.
Still made it very competitive.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm all that upset about how game 1 went. I mean, certainly you'd rather be up 1-0 than down 0-1, but like it felt like a fairly favorable matchup in that regard, right? Where you can have that many things go your way, especially the Trick Room was like really disastrous, right?
Yeah.
Where Sinister really didn't do anything in this game except for help the other team, and despite that, it was still so close. I think there's real world where Arsal kind of cleans this up a little bit. I might actually be thinking of adjusting a little bit if I was on Williams' side of the field in this one, just because I think it would have been very easy for that to go the wrong way if he didn't make so many reads correctly.
All right, here we go. Game 2. This is elimination for Arsal if he loses this match. If William wins, that will be advancing to the top 4, a new best finish for that competitor. Espathra and Sneasler on the field, and this time it's the Floette and Incineroar on the field for Arsal.
So we get the Fake Out war once again, and poor Floette always just seems to be facing down some dangerous threats on the other side. Sneasler somewhat pinning it here, although I guess technically you could go for a Fake Out in that slot if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Since you can't both Fake Out, or stop Fake Out and Dire Claw. Espathra just going to flee this time, maybe doesn't want to be parting shotted again, and we see Dragonite as a switch up from the previous game.
Yeah, there's an adjustment like you were calling out, Scott. That's the Dragonite for Billy instead of potentially the Archaludon or the Politoed that we saw in Game 1. Floette will go ahead and Mega Evolve into the Mega Floette as Incineroar's Fake Out connects onto Dragonite. That was the Espathra. That just means that Sneasler gets fire off a Dire Claw directly into Floette. The Intimidate, though, is a big deal. Allows Floette to survive, but just goes for a Calm Mind here. And Arsal is going to need to maneuver real hard to allow that Floette to make any use of that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that if there was a Dazzling Gleam, it could have been pretty scary there with Dragonite's multi-scale getting broken, but it's a I'm not going to say a free Calm Mind. That is definitely not what that was.
Yeah.
But a Calm Mind, which is still important with this team. I think probably likely going to see more of a protect the print sort of strategy here with Incineroar and Sinistcha likely in the back trying to help out here, rather than using the Trick Room as it did in the previous turn. You could go for a Protect and a switch to Sinistcha, although that was called so beautifully the last time around. It's a little anxiety-inducing perhaps to go for that one, but Espathra are going to re-enter the battle and likely see a switch on the other side as well. But no, the Dragonite is going to activate first.
Yeah, Dragonite is out on the field now. That is Mega Dragonite, gets the wings on its head as Espathra switches in for the Sneasler. Floette going for the Protect, trying to protect itself from a Fake Out, or sorry, a Dire Claw from the Sneasler. Hurricane misses the Incineroar, no rain up, so the Hurricane has only 7, much less useful.
Yeah, so we'll see the Sinistcha come in, with the switch sort of, just, the complicated multi-step version where getting the stat debuff in, healing up the Floette, and critically getting the threat of a Rage Powder on the field. But it's kind of an interesting pin on the Sinistcha here where I don't know if you want to take a fairy type attack in order to do it, but there would be the option of a double up into the Sinistcha with a Lumina Crash to lower its special defense before attacking.
Well, there definitely is still that option, and maybe Billy won't have any choice but to with Rage Powder on the field now.
Yeah, you gotta have to deal with it, right? And I think getting rid of it would still be a big deal because you'd avoid the ability for it to heal enough to survive another Dire Claw.
Well, there is another Protect coming out from Espathra to continue getting speed boost. Sinistcha does go for the Rage Powder, wants to make sure that Billy is only targeting the Sinistcha and not dealing any damage to the Floette, and without the rain, this Dragonite just cannot land these Hurricanes. That's the second one that misses into the Sinistcha, and now here's the +1 Calm Mind boosted Dazzling Gleam, picks up the KO on Dragonite, easy peasy.
That's a huge knockout there. Getting rid of the Mega Ball Pokemon without it really getting to do anything. Unfortunately, missing both of its Hurricanes, so it's a lot of damage that could have gone down that didn't there. I don't know if Sinistcha was trained to be able to survive that or not, but certainly both it and Incineroar would be much less healthy than they are. The benefit is it does give a switch, which again, I'm not going to call free, into Sneasler, who is threatening a bunch of damage on the other side of the board, but there's still the threat of that Rage Powder. And unlike the previous Pokemon, you don't get like the natural synergy movement crash there, but Incineroar instead going to help out by intimidating these Pokemon, trying perhaps to get Floette protecting. Okay.
Yep, there is another Protect from Floette as the Incineroar's Intimidate will continue to lower the attack of Sneasler, but Espathra now finally starting to go for some boosts here. That's a Calm Mind, bringing its special attack back to even, and you have to start wondering, what is the target? Does Espathra just want these boosts for itself? It can't with the Incineroar still on the field, so is it the Politoed or is it the Archaludon that he's trying to buff?
You're right, critical information here. Certainly not the Scoville with Mega Evolution spent already in this more supportive set. But I think also, Arsal's kind of stuck in a cycle, right? Where it's powerful, but it's really predictable. Where I guess breaking the cycle a little bit here by going for the immediate switch. But, just like every turn is like, okay, Protect, use a support Pokemon ability, repeat. And this time he's going to have to take some damage. But Espathra going to Calm Mind instead. Maybe get a little greedy, maybe feeling like, hey, this is just what I need to set up a win condition or break this cycle.
Yeah, and at least starting to get actual attack buffs onto the Espathra and whatever is in the back. Another Dire Claw connects onto Floette, but is not able to pick up the KO thanks to that Intimidate. Sneasler hangs on with 7 hit points, which is actually kind of important because it means that the Focus Sash does not activate, and so the Unburden does not activate as well. But Espathra is able to tank that pretty well now with those 2 Calm Minds and also a number of speed buffs.
Yeah, Espathra's looking pretty good here. Likely going to see a Baton Pass at this turn so it can learn this last Pokemon. And the pacing of this game, I wouldn't be shocked if Espathra was able to Calm Mind itself up back again later in the game.
Well, here is the play here. Espathra is going for the Baton Pass, but protects from Sneasler, protects from Floette. We do have a situation that looks like what Arsal was trying to set up in Game 1, getting all of these speed boosts passed over to the Politoed, +1 on the special attack, +2 on the special defense, but the Trick Room has now been set up on Arsal. So now finally, that is working for him instead of against him.
Yeah, although Politoed's not the speediest, but well, I guess it is now.
It is now. It's got 3 or 4 speed boosts.
Yeah, so it's become Kyogre or something. So special stats, great. Speed, not so great, or a little too great, I suppose. You're threatening a bunch of damage the other direction, and Floyd is still very weakened, but you still, again, have to break through that Sinistra. Did not hit the Hurricane earlier in the game. I kind of wondered if Politoed had even come because of the attempt to fire all those Hurricanes without it, but Caesar going to fail and protect here, and maybe Sinistra will get to go on the offense.
Well, there's the Matcha Gotcha coming out from Sinistra that will pick up the KO onto Sneasler, and you can see the benefit of those 2 special defense boosts onto Politoed. Only takes 44 damage there, a pittance with a super effective attack. There's the Moonblast coming out from Floette. It does have a Calm Mind boost, so it deals a lot more damage than the Matcha Gotcha, but Politoed is still able to hold on just barely. Muddy Water comes out that will pick up the KO onto Floette and deal a little bit of damage to Sinistra, but that type resistance, that natural type resistance, has just been so powerful for Sinistra against this Politoed. And getting able to dodge those Hurricanes, that's kind of a big deal for this Sinistra.
Yeah, the Sinistra hadn't been hit by the Hurricane, certainly not standing in the field anymore. Instead, able to pick up that knockout and continue to threaten this Palitoad. And Spathra is going to get worse and worse in trick room every turn.
Until it gets better and better.
Right, yeah, he's got to make it a few more turns here, but I think that's going to be tough. At least this Palitoad does not hold a Choice Scarf as the one we saw yesterday did, but likely not going to survive a Matcha Gotcha unless it dodges it here. And Incineroar has the option of targeting into that slot as well. Spathra threatening the Sinistra, but not the Incineroar, who, despite the type disadvantage, it looks like the Fire Grass version of the Fire Grass versus Water playing out as opponents instead of allies this time.
Absolutely. There's the Matcha Gotcha coming out from Sinistra, just trying to clean up damage on that Politoad and get a little bit more onto the Espathra as well. Heals up quite a bit of that health as well. In addition to all of that, the Citrus Berry actually activating here, meaning that this Espathra will continue to be more and more healthy. Throat Chop just trying to clean up that Politoad in case of a Matcha Gotcha miss. Illumina Crash connects onto Sinistra, deals a decent amount of damage, gets the special defense drop. Does make it a little bit spookier over time, but it is just the Politoad here that Arsal has to worry about because this Espathra is unable to deal any damage to the Dark-type Incineroar.
Yeah, it seems like it would need a triple protect on the Politoad, most likely to get through this one. I think, 2 more turns. Yeah, both the 2 more turns of Trick Room, and I think 2 more Lumina Crashes probably needed to pick up this Sinistra. At least now, after that last turn, Incineroar can't really risk trying to attack it, but the Protect is going to fail.
Yep, the Protect fails. No double Protect for Politoad, and the Matcha Gotcha is going to connect. Politoad goes down. Espathra is still on the field, and that is a Game 2 win for Arsal because, again, only the Psychic-type Lumina Crash available on Espathra for offense, and the Dark-type of Incineroar makes it immune. So Game 3 coming right up here. Actually, we don't even have to worry about that because Incineroar will just clean it up for himself.
He's like, I heard Dark type.
let me chop some throats.
Really fun set so far. Interesting one, right? I think both the Game 1 and the Game 2 set were kind of uniquely difficult to react to, where like the first game seemed like maybe the player that won needed a little too many reads to get there. Second game, maybe the player that won needed a few too many misses to get there. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how these players opt to approach this third game, where I don't have like a super good feel for this matchup after the first 2 games because both of them are kind of volatile in their own ways.
Yeah, and I'm going to be I think that I liked the Dragonite adjustment quite a bit from Billy, but having to go for some of those 70% Hurricanes when you had Politoad in the back feels real bad. But, you know, to Arsal's credit, didn't give a lot of freedom for, you know, Billy to switch in that Politoad alongside the Dragonite as well.
Yeah, I think pressure is really important against these teams like this in the past, right? If you play with your food too much, it's going to get too strong and destroy you, so you have to play aggressively. I think it's also kind of the weakness of these teams, right? Where you can't just send out your Pokemon in whatever order you want if you have a baton pass-based strategy. But we have a very different strategy on the other side of the field with also saying, hey, you know, you haven't really been doing anything to check my Charizard mode, so check it out.
Yep, I decided that I got my win with the Floette mode, and now I would like to get a win with my Charizard mode. And that is potentially very threatening, especially that Venusaur having access to Sleep Powder can be a big deal in this matchup to prevent some of these big buffs.
Yeah, Venusaur protecting for now, so that's interesting. I wonder if it's just a double protect the Scout with the fake out. Oh, no,
just calling it out. And no Mega Evolution from the Charizard, so doubling up into the Venusaur on Billy's side. Arsal calling that correctly, instead just getting off a free heat wave here, dealing a decent amount of damage to both of the Pokemon on Billy's side.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that the lack of Mega Evolution here is not even really bluffing Flo in the back, which I don't know there's like plausible doubt for with this lead. Instead holding the Mega Evolution in case of the Palitoad entering the battle, but a really interesting look here. Also a great call, blocking the double onto the Venusaur, and it's become a very interesting situation. Yeah, Sleep Powder very bad for this team. Squavillon almost certainly wasn't selected, and a really bold call to bring this after Dragonite was selected the previous game. Maybe you think, hey, it didn't work out so well for my opponent. I think he's going to drop it.
Well, that Venusaur is switching out for the Incineroar, going to get an Intimidate drops down onto the Sneasler, which does stick because there is no White Herb. This time Arsal wants the additional firepower of the Drought on the field and the additional stats for Charizard Y. Spathra, though, will just go for a Protect here to get another speed boost. Sneasler as well going for a Protect on its own, but, you know, that protects them from this incoming heat wave, but now leaves them very vulnerable to this Incineroar.
Yeah, kind of a great situation, right? How often does Incineroar get to switch in a double protect? So now these Pokemon going to be able to avoid a potential fake out here. I think very likely that this Sneasler wants to become a Palitoad to change the weather, but I'm actually not so certain that Espathra's going to survive a fake out in a weather ball. Yeah,
and Espathra has to retreat despite getting all of those speed boosts. Billy is not finding the opportunities to actually get those baton passes off. Instead, has to hard switch both of his Pokemon on the field to the rain mode. So Politoed out on the field. It's going to take a Weather Ball from this Charizard. Of course, it is water type because it is now raining out on the field. Steel deals good damage to that Pokemon as Incineroar, targeting down the Espathra slot once again, gets a very high value parting shot off onto that Archaludon.
Man, there's some really fun reads in this game where sure both players acknowledge the play I was talking about. William defended it, and then I was like, no, I'm just not going to try to do that. I know that you know. And Venusaur getting back out the field. Something looked like a pretty awesome Pokemon here. I certainly prefer the weather was a little bit different, but Palitoad likely not going to want to be hit by Sleep Powder here and kind of become much less effective. You really want to be threatening the Weather Ball while the weather is yours, and Archaludon wouldn't really want to be hit by it either. There is no grass attack on this Venusaur, so also not being threatened by damage, but sleeping Pokemon don't do any damage either.
Exactly. Sleeping Pokemon like this cute little sleepy Politoad are not going to be able to deal any damage until they wake up. So the Sleep Powder connects on to Politoad. Archaludon is able to start buffing itself up with the Electro Shot. And of course, Arsal switched in the Garchomp, hoping to protect that Charizard. This is a Pokemon we have not seen out of Arsal yet, and he gets the call correctly.
Well, this is so like, this is the Sun strat here, right? You bait the Electro Shot, you get the Garchomp in, now you can threaten bringing the Charizard back in, have an Earthquake opportunity, trying to get both of these Pokemon who are vulnerable to it, and also a nice spot where even though it was Electro Shot, it's actually only neutral special attack because of the parting shot previously.
Yeah, really well sequenced there from Arsal to continue to put Billy on the back foot. Recognizing that the Sun mode is likely to come back, Billy has to retreat the Politoad to give him the option to reset the weather. Sneasler will be the choice coming out from Billy to at least tank this Earthquake, potentially a sacrificial Sneasler here just to get that Politoad back in to control the weather.
Well, I mean, we'll get to see the Sneasler unfortunately going down there. I mean, you see the impact of the damage it took earlier in the game where it might have been full health. That's the dream play, right? You switch in, you get the Focus Sash activation, the Pokemon takes over the game. But because it was weakened before, again, great sequencing, right? Doing exactly the damage that it needed to do. You do at least get with the benefit of that, Palitoad coming back in here and reset the weather, but it didn't take its sleep turn, so it's not going to be doing anything this turn.
Still
potentially allowing Charizard to cycle the weather once again.
Yeah, and there's really nothing that Billy can do about that. Losing the Sneasler is a big deal. The Espathra was totally blocked from doing anything at the start of the game, and it really can't switch in right now and is not going to feel good about taking any damage. What's also not going to feel good about taking damage is this Archaludon that takes a lot of damage, and the Politoad in particular with that critical hit almost gets knocked out. Of course, it is still asleep, so it does not get an opportunity to do much of anything, but Archaludon continuing to go for those Electro Shots, and Arsal keeping the Charizard on the field, not switching it out, just going for the Protect, keeping that Archaludon locked into nothing.
covering kind of all the options. There's like, hey, you know that my electric immunity's in the field, so you think it's free to attack into the slot, and I have to cycle Charizard, but I don't, right? Where
I
now
have Protect.
yeah, exactly. Earthquake now very threatening, would certainly easily pick up the Palatoad. Archelon is close after the stamina boost, but can easily fire an attack into that slot, or if you're anticipating a switch to Spathra, try to double that slot instead. But it's very close to over here, where this is a really excellent sequencing by the Sun team, and there is so much pressure being exerted by this popular Charizard Garchomp combination.
Yeah, and this Garchomp is Choice Scarf, so Billy is going to be at a speed disadvantage against that Pokemon until this Espathra can get at least one, maybe two speed boosts to actually be able to outspeed this Choice Scarf Garchomp. Archaludon forced to protect itself from the additional damage coming out from this Earthquake. Espathra takes so much damage on the switch in there, but is able to eat its Citrus Berry and heal just a little bit up. There's Charizard trying to pick off whatever last little bits of hit points would be remaining on the Archaludon after that Earthquake, but instead just going to be into the Protect as Archaludon continues to recover its health with those leftovers.
Yeah, so we got a really close situation here. Now with the Espathra, at least with the option of speed boost, you can start catching up to that Garchomp, likely just quicker than it, when both are at +1. But this Espathra is not going to be one-shotting out of these Pokemon, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the damage that Espathra can put out is negligible unless you get multiple opportunities to get Calm Minds or special defense drops from Lumina Crash. And Garchomp does not need any additional advantage, brings Archaludon all the way down to 15 hit points with that Choice Scarf Earthquake here. And that allows Charizard with this Weather Ball once again target down the Archaludon. The leftovers helped it survive the Earthquake, but it doesn't survive the double up.
Using its own rain against it. That's not a fire type Weather Ball, that is water type, but able to do enough damage to pick up the knockout. And now that's still sleeping Palatoad, not going to be much use. So we see the